Jeffrey Barnes, 33, of Milton, Florida. Emily Marie Eve Bolanos, 23, of Austin, Texas. Zachary Esparza, 36, of Jackson, Missouri. Isaac John Gallo, 27, of Los Angeles, California. Joshua C. Gore, 25, of Morehead City, North Carolina. Aaron Healy, 32, of Cape Coral, Florida. Taylor Mitchell, 30, of Mountain Brook, Alabama. Rustin Smith, 32, of Rolla, Missouri. David Salinas Jr. of Oradell, New Jersey. Daniel Wadham of Joelton, Tennessee. Danny Randolph of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Christopher Robert Aramo, 39, of Oneonta, New York. Kyle D. McKenna, 28, of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Stuart Dwayne Waymont, 32, of North Logan, Utah. Anna Basaldua Ruiz, 20, of Long Beach, California. Evan Fitzgibbon of Windermere, Florida. George Tabor, 30, of Glen St. Mary, Florida. Michael D. Clark, 41, of Windsor, Connecticut. Nathan E. Carlson, 21, of Winnebago, Illinois. Nicholas P. Losapio, 31, of Rockingham, New Hampshire. Seth D. Rasmussen, 21, of Johnson, Wyoming. John J. Sachs, 33, of Placer, California. Evan A. Strickland, 19, of Valencia, New Mexico. John Del Toro, 29, of Augusta, Georgia. Cody Lee Decker, 22, of Suffolk, Virginia. Cameron Armstrong, 22. Richard Bullock, 29, of Helena, Montana. And Hayden Cotton, 24, of Russellville, Arkansas. These are people who died in the last year while serving in the U.S. military. They are the newest ones that we honor tomorrow on Memorial Day. Most of these people died in accidents or by suicide. So in addition to these people, there are others that we hold in our hearts today, others that we mourn, the people killed in the wars in Ukraine, in Burma, Afghanistan, Ethiopia. So many others lost to violence and accidents and disease this year. Our beloved dead, the ones we knew and loved and lost this year. So come, let us remember. Come, let us worship together.
In this hour of holy stillness, we gather to honor the lives and the people we love. In this hour of holy stillness, we remind ourselves that the flames of life and love are never fully extinguished. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer ourselves for sharing the weight of each other's grief. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer the strength of our love to help others survive their pain and grief. In this hour of holy stillness, we call forth from each of us the power we offer out of life, out of loss, out of love. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to People's Church. Whether this is your first time at People's Church or you come every Sunday or anywhere in between, I welcome you. My name is John McClellan, and I'm from the Sunday Services Committee. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association and part of a tradition of liberal religion. Here, our mission is to be a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. Welcome to all.
And as we begin, an announcement. Next Sunday is our annual youth and milestones service where we honor those in our congregation who are entering adulthood. And I have a question for all of you. What have you learned this year? So if you have a sentence or a paragraph that you would like to share with the congregation, please send it to me this week and we will share a collage of your voices in the service. And now I would invite us all to take a moment to greet one another. If you're on Zoom, say hello in the chat. If you're here in person, introduce yourself or ask how your weekend is to the person near you.
I encourage you to finish your conversations after the service, and at this time I would invite you to rise and bow to your spirit to sing our opening song together. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and vine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
I'd like to call May Nickerson up to light the chalice. By Christine Robinson. In our time of grief, we light a flame of sharing, the flame of ongoing life. In this time, when we search for understanding and serenity in the face of loss, we light this sign of our quest for truth, meaning, and community.
In addition to our chalice lit here at People's Church, in our Zoom community, we have a chalice lit in Battle Creek today, and people joining us from our community and beyond. I'd now like to invite our children forward for a story to share together. Oh, I'm so glad you all are with us today. So many people wearing so many fun summer clothes. Oh, I know I've been excited to get my summer clothes out. Have you guys felt that way? When we have Princess Elsa with us today, even. Nope. Okay. Gigi, do you want to come sit with us or do you want to just be right there for now? Either way is just fine. So our story today comes all the way from Madagascar, which is about as far away as you can get from Kalamazoo and still be on planet Earth. It is an island off the coast of Africa. And this is a story about a little bit about how the world was made. So the very beginning of time, when there were just the first people, God was still figuring out how to make things work. And one day, God came to the first people and said, do you want to die like the moon or like the banana tree? And do you know what the people said? They said, what does that mean, God? I don't understand that question at all. Start making sense. And so it does make no sense. And so that's what they told God. And then God started explaining. So God said, if you die like the moon, you'd get smaller and smaller and go away, but then you would come back and still be the moon, because we see the moon do that in the sky, right? And it's still the same moon, even if we don't see it for a little while, right? Yeah, so it comes back and it's the same moon. And so they said, that's one way death could work. Or it could work like a banana tree. You guys know anything about banana trees? They grow bananas. Do you know anything about banana trees, Catherine? So they start small and then they grow big and then they die. And the thing about banana trees, what do you know about banana trees? They grow yummy bananas. I think that's the most important thing about banana trees. You want to sit next to Dottie? There's some space here. Do you want to be right here? You can come up. We'll make room. Thank you, Dottie. Thank you, Violet, for making space. Do you know something? Oh, you're telling me about your favorite banana cream pie. That sounds delicious. There are so many delicious things with bananas. We can have a chat about that later. Oh, banana bread. I love banana pudding. Okay. We'll talk about it later. But for the story.
Muffins.
Oh, it's so good in muffins. You're right, Mara.
Banana peel.
Banana peels. Okay, let's get back to the story. We got distracted. Maybe we need to have a banana peel cupcakes? I don't know about that. Maybe we need a banana potluck sometime. So, the thing about banana trees is they grow and get big, and then when they're really big, they send out little shoots that become new banana trees. And new banana trees start growing, and after a while, the first banana tree dies, but there's all these other banana trees that keep going after the first banana tree dies. And Violet, I think, knows how this story is going to end. But the first people stayed up all night thinking about which they wanted. Did they want to die like the moon? They thought it would be great to never really die all the way, but also it might get kind of boring after a while if it was just them. And then they said, well, the thing that would be so great about dying like a banana tree is new things would happen. New people, new ideas, change, growth, new art, new babies, all kinds of new things. Yeah, but we wouldn't get to live forever and we wouldn't get to see all of it. So they thought about it for a long time before they would tell God what their answer was. And you guys, I think Violet already knows which one they picked. They decided they wanted to die like a banana tree. And so in the story from Madagascar, that's how the world became like it is. So we grow and we get bigger and we die like a banana tree. But if you look around at almost anybody when they die, there are all kinds of new things, whether that's kids or art or friendships or beauty that they have created in the world that keeps going. What do you think? We don't grow out of the ground. That is a way that we are different than banana trees for sure. And we don't make delicious bananas either. Yeah, we grow in bellies. That's right, not in the ground. Okay. Well, thank you. I am really hungry for banana-related snacks. Are you guys hungry? Yeah, maybe soon.
Banana peel cup.
Banana peel cupcakes. I don't know about that one. But thank you for helping me tell this story. Thank you for making me so hungry for bananas today. Are you guys hungry for bananas? Yeah, a little bit maybe. No, maybe not. Well, now it is time for us to sing you all to your classes. So let's walk. Okay, I'll help you do that.
And may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way. And may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go.
People's people are generous people, and we live that generosity in so many ways. Last week, we had our first big potluck in a while, which was delicious. There was too much food, which I thought might happen. And yesterday or last week before the service, a couple of people came up to me and said, "So what's the cleanup plan for all of this?" And I said, "I think we'll be fine. If we have this many people in the room and everybody does a little, we'll get it done." And that is what happened. A few people stacked chairs, a few people moved tables, a few people stayed for quite a while to get all the dishes done. And we cleaned up after ourselves, which shouldn't be this big spectacular announcement, but if you've ever been the last one left at a party, you know that it's a big deal when everybody does a little, so no one has to do all of it. And one of our newer people came up to me near the end of the cleanup time and said, "I just went in the kitchen, and it's only men in there cleaning up." Which again is a thing that shouldn't be notable at all. But in this world and the way gender works, it is. So the wonderful group of fellas who did the bulk of the work last week. And everybody, or so many people, did a little, so no one had to do all of it. And that, I think, is a microcosm of how we try to be around here, doing what we can, sometimes taking bigger shifts, but somehow it all gets done and nobody is left doing all of the dishes for 6 hours by themselves. So this is the point where I invite you to continue to be the generous people that you are. The offering will now be received.
On earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who we are. Therefore, let
Please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone. Sharing Losses by Atina O. Danner. Loss binds us together undeniably. Like the aching low moan of a cello, you feel it first. Other senses follow. Feel it in that place, where the keening cry of a wounded heart begins. In loss, we could be family, in that shared knowing and need, in these chances to rebirth kindness to each other. From Inciting Joy, Essays by Ross Gay. I would like to offer a working definition of grief, which in all likelihood I've cribbed from someone else, and to whom, wherever you are, I offer a hearty thanks. Grief is the metabolization of change. Perhaps it's for this reason that the bodies of the grieving so often actually transform in the process of grieving. Losing or gaining weight, suddenly wrinkling or taking on a tremor, water running from the eyes, hair going gray or white, memory different, dying. It is an emotional and bodily process that calls to question the ridiculous notion that ever the two are not one. This alert to the body and mind being one and the same, which is also called the heart, is one of the wisdoms the griever offers us, though it is ancillary to, or a subsidiary of, what perhaps is the first wisdom of grief, the one they bring back to us like fire, like the tablets. Everything is connected. The griever knows, or comes to know, again and again, that it's not only my beloved friend, grandchild, dog, lover, tree, sibling, auntie, teacher, parent, relationship, belief, home, glacier, species that is changed or gone, because when that one thing changed, everything changed. Light through the trees in October, now different, the sound of the playground, making love, pushing the cart through the aisles of the store, dreams, the Eagles game on Sunday, holidays, a walk by the river, celebration, changing the sheets, taking a nap, cooking a meal, reading a book, the future, the past. all of it changed. That is what the griever is metabolizing. Which, metabolizing how everything has changed, is not, how could it be, obedient to a clock or calendar, nor a mandate to move on or snap out of it or get over it or pull oneself together. It seems to me that grief is not gotten over, it is gotten into. And the griever teaches us or reminds us there is no pulling it together. There are only degrees or expressions of falling apart. Because grieving, alert to connection, luminous with it, is never only one person's experience. In fact, I think it is the case that grieving, or the griever, consciously or not, connects to all of grief and to all grievers, and which is perhaps why there are some traditions in which the griever is held in constant vigil for a long time. Those traditions understand the griever is entering the oceanic sorrow, is drifting into it. And those traditions know, connected as we are obligated to keep an eye on each other as the waters of grief close behind us. But just as important is the understanding that what the grievers bring back to us, in addition to the ways their wet faces carry the light, is the fact that if we become likewise infected or subsumed, which can happen at any moment, indeed it ought to, right now, terrifying though it is, everything will change, and for good.
And our final reading today is from On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, an autobiographical novel by Vietnamese-American poet Ocean Vuong. And in this passage, the narrator has traveled to Saigon, Vietnam, to bury his grandmother. 2 days after we buried my grandmother, I heard the sound of tinny music and the pitched voices of children through the hotel balcony. It was nearly 2 a.m. I got up, slipped on my sandals, and walked out. My eyes adjusted to the fluorescent tube lights hung along the wall. I made my way to the music. The night blazed before me. People were suddenly everywhere, a kaleidoscope of colors, garments, limbs, the glint of jewelry and sequins. Vendors were selling fresh coconuts, cut mangoes, rice cakes pressed into gooey masses, wrapped in banana leaves and steamed in large metal vats. Sugarcane juice sold in sandwich bags cut at the corner, one of them now held by a boy who sucked from the plastic beaming. Between string lights hung low from balconies on each side of the street, I glimpsed a makeshift stage. On it, a group of elaborately dressed women gyrated, their arms colorful banners in the breeze, singing karaoke. Their voices broke off and floated down the street. Nearby, a small TV propped on a plastic white dining table displayed the lyrics to a Vietnamese pop song from the 80s. I hovered closer, still dazed from sleep. It seemed the city had forgotten the time, or rather, forgotten time itself. From what I knew, there was no holiday, no occasion for jubilation. In fact, just beyond the street, where the main road began, the roads were empty, quiet as they should have been at that hour. All the commotion was contained on a single block, where people now laughed and sang. It was only when I came close enough to see their features that I realized the singers were in drag. Their sequined outfits of varying cuts and primary colors sparkled so intensely, it seemed they were donning the very reduction of stars. To the right of the stage were 4 people with their backs to everyone else. Heads bowed, they were the only ones not moving, as if enclosed in an invisible room. They stared at something on a long plastic table in front of them, their heads so low. After a while, one of them, a woman with silver hair, rested her head on the shoulder of a young man to her right and began to weep. I stepped closer, and that's when I saw on the table, impossibly still, the distinct form of a body covered in a white sheet. By now, all 4 mourners were openly weeping, while on stage, the singer's falsetto cut through the racking sobs. Later, I would learn that this was a common scene on a Saigon night. City coroners, underfunded, don't always work around the clock. When someone dies in the middle of the night, they get trapped in a municipal limbo where the corpse remains inside until it's inside its death. And as a response, a grassroots movement was formed as a communal salve. Neighbors, having learned of a sudden death, would, in under an hour, pool money and hire a troupe of drag performers for what was called delaying sadness. In Saigon, the sound of music and children playing this late in the night is a sign of death, or rather, a sign of a community attempting to heal. It's through the drag performers' explosive outfits and gestures, their overdrawn faces and voices, their tabooed trespass of gender, that this relief, through extravagant spectacle, is manifest. Because grief at its worst is unreal, and it calls for a surreal response. The queens in this way are unicorns stomping in a graveyard.
I invite you to find whatever posture makes singing comfortable for you. Sing our next song together. Where my free spirit onward leads, well, there shall be my way. By my own light illumined, I've journeyed night and day. My age, a time-worn cloak
There are a few things I say every time I lead a memorial service, a few pieces of wisdom that need to be said every time we gather to remember our beloved dead. I always say that love means grief in time. When we love a friend, grandchild, dog, lover, tree, sibling, auntie, teacher, parent, relationship, belief, home, glacier, species, as Ross Gay writes in the passage John read, grief is a guarantee. The hard truth that many of us get to live much of our lives ignoring is that we die, and every being, every place, everything that we love will die or be changed beyond recognition. Not one of us is getting out of here alive. And it hurts when the losses come. Life is like the banana tree. And despite the certainty of loss, the guarantee that it will come, love is worth it. A life without love is not much of love, whether that's love for friend, grandchild, dog, lover, tree, sibling, auntie, teacher, parent, relationship, belief, home, glacier, species. We need connection to each other, to our community, to our world. We are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always. I pray each week. And a life cut off from that is not much of a life at all. And a life of love guarantees a life of grief. At memorial services, I also name the work of grief. When we experience a loss, our illusions of safety and certainty and control are often shattered. And the work of grief is to honor the loss and piece our lives back together in new ways. I say this every time because I know it is true from my own losses and from accompanying so many of you and others as you create new lives after loss, after the death of loved ones, after a loss of a friendship, after a divorce, a change in jobs, loss of independence, a loss when a particular idea that you held close and gave you meaning isn't true anymore. All of the losses. There are so many. They are around us always. And I say a lot of other things at memorial services too, but I always say that love means grief in time. And grief is both the honoring of what is gone and the rebuilding of a new life. And a few months ago, Daryl Iacano, one of our people's people, who teaches about grief professionally, told me that there's a model of grief that reflects these ideas. The experts affirm what we know to be true. So in psychology, there's a whole variety of models for how grief works. You've probably heard of the 5 stages and all of that. And in the 1990s, Dutch psychologists Margaret Strobe and Henk Schut presented a model that has gained popularity in the past decades called the dual process model of coping with bereavement. They didn't name it in a particular catchy way, but it's good stuff. So they describe grieving as simultaneously doing 2 separate processes, 2 separate emotional, psychological, spiritual sets of work. There's the loss-oriented process, and that's the anger, the sadness, the pain of grief, the work of acutely feeling a loss, entering the ocean of sadness and letting it have its way with us. And there is the restoration-oriented process, the building of a new life, finding what joy is available, doing what needs to be done to keep living. And Strobe and Schut describe grieving as a constant dance or an oscillation between these 2 processes. So grief is focusing on loss, then restoration, then loss, then restoration, and making progress on both things in fits and starts. kind of simultaneously. It's not a march through any sort of linear phases. So what does this look like? It can look like spending a morning in deep grief, looking at the old photographs, going to a grief group, feeling sadness or anger. That's working your loss-oriented process. And in the afternoon, the grieving person goes to the movies or works in the garden or cleans the kitchen. That's restoration-oriented work. And the person, the griever, moves back and forth between these two processes all the time, unevenly, tending to loss and tending to restoration, confronting the hard emotions and creating a new life in the shadow of the loss. Both processes are necessary with grief, the experts tell us. And the passage from Ocean Vuong's beautiful novel that I read to you earlier shows that dual process model putting up against each other on one block. The fictional people on the street in Saigon create a gathering that allows people to tend to loss and restoration all at once. There are mourners sitting with the body of the recently deceased weeping. There are children running around playing and eating fruit, a reminder that life continues, even in loss. And there are the drag queens singing familiar pop songs, their sequins echoing the stars in the sky, a reminder of joy and beauty, even in the midst of loss. Though it isn't in the text, I like to imagine the mourners will get up after a while and eat and watch the children and the drag queens and let the surreal middle of the night party mix with their fresh grief. And the people who are minding the children or singing along with the drag queens will take their turn weeping beside the body of their neighbor. And the sounds of weeping and wild children up too late and hopped up on sugarcane juice and the karaoke will all mix together into something transformative. Through the power of community, of neighbors pooling their money and showing up and making something happen right after a loss, there will be comfort, there will be care, and in time there will be healing. Every community has their ways of showing up and helping one another after grief. One of our ways is this service, our annual pause in the rush and excitement of spring to attend to the griefs that we carry, because they are still with us even when the sun comes out. So now I would like to invite us into a loss-oriented ritual for the day, to speak the psychological talk. We have candles up here in the front of the Commons. And if you have a grief you're holding today, a grief for friend, grandchild, dog, lover, tree, sibling, auntie, teacher, parent, relationship, belief, home, glacier, species, or anything else, I invite you to come forward and light a candle, or several. I put out a whole lot. Take as many as you need. I don't think we're going to run out. And if you do, I can grab the box and we'll have all of them. And if you're with us on Zoom, feel free to ask for a candle in the chat. We will make sure some are lit in your honor. Grief and loss can feel really lonely sometimes. And I want us all to just see this and know that while our losses and our griefs might be particular to us, we are swimming in an ocean of grief alongside so many others. There's a kinship there. The poet tells us in loss we could be family. And it is a lot to hold. And now we oscillate. So let's move into a restoration-oriented process. The choir is going to lead us in song as we close our gathering today. Love means grief in time. And the work of grief is to honor what is gone and find a new way forward. And whatever it is you are holding today, this is evidence that you are not alone in the ocean of sorrow in this particular moment. And that doesn't fix it, but it does help. Let us go in peace, go in love, and please be gentle with your wonderful selves.